This is season 1 of us restoring our 1963 Dodge Polara that we picked up off Marketplace for only $2,000. In this update, we're preparing to remove the engine because we were told by the previous owner that one or more rod bearings were knocking. This season will showcase what we do to remove our engine, doing things like taking the exhaust off, taking out the radiator, draining the coolant, and removing the fan shroud. Stay tuned for future updates on how we're going to restore this sexy beast of a vehicle. Welcome to episode 1 of the Polara Project. Our original plan was to access the rod bearings from underneath the car by trying to take off the oil pan. We did this to try and avoid a full-on engine removal. Here we're using a pickle fork to remove the steering linkage in order to access the rod bearings through the oil pan. The steering linkage will connect the front two wheels, allowing the car to turn. We realized this wasn't feasible, so we put the steering linkage back on and began to prepare for an entire engine rebuild. Welcome to episode 2 of the Polara Project. In this episode, we are removing the radiator. In order to remove the engine, we have to remove all of the surrounding parts that are not directly attached, and this includes the radiator. The radiator acts as the car's cooling system. Warm coolant gets pumped into the top of the radiator and is then blown through the fan shroud, cooling the coolant, which is then pumped as cold coolant back down into the engine. Here you can see us draining the coolant and removing the radiator. A challenge that we faced was disposing of the coolant after it had been drained because AutoZone would not take it from us. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Polara Pathways Project. In this episode, we're removing the engine, a lengthy task which spanned over several days. The final preparations had to be made, such as detaching and mounting the transmission. We then wrapped 50 pounds of chain around the engine and attached it to our hoist. After maneuvering the engine out of the garage, we realized we did not have enough bolts, and so we had to make a Home Depot run. Once we got back, we secured the engine safely to the stand and completed our engine removal. Welcome back to the first episode of the second season of the Polara Project. In this video, we'll be disassembling the top end of the engine. We've already removed the cylinder head covers, rockers, and push rods. Here, we're removing the cylinder head bolts from the heads themselves and then dislodging them from the engine block. The cylinder heads are controlled by the camshaft and control the valves that regulate airflow and fuel flow into the cylinder, and then exhaust fumes out of the cylinder and into the exhaust manifold. After removing them, we will scrape away at the cylinder head gasket and replace it later down the line. Our goal is to access the pistons in order to replace the connector rods and hone the cylinders. Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Polara Project. Here you get to see everything we've taken out of the car so far. Right here, we got our old rod bearings. As you can see, they're spun, and they're each going to be replaced. Right here, we got our new set. We got our rockers, and we have the pistons as well as the connecting rods. A couple of these are going to have to go as well. And over here, we have what's left of our engine. You can see the entire timing system as well as where we took the pistons out of. And if you look off to the side, we have our cylinder head covers, our cylinder head gaskets, and the actual cylinder heads, as well as everything else we've taken out, including the carburetor, the radiator, the battery, the alternator, and anything else along the way.
Hey there, how's it going? My name's Quinn, I'm with the Polara Pathways Project, and I'm here to talk about our experiences. So, our experiences throughout this whole project, they've been very life-changing, I'd say. They've been incredibly influential, and it was just overall a very good source of educational experience, and it brought forth many roadblocks that we were forced to navigate through. And learning how to navigate through roadblocks to conquer challenges and make last-minute decisions and whatnot, those are great skills that will be used in everyday life. So we've learned that when setting the grounds and objectives for a large project like this, it's very important to acknowledge all implications and create a plan B. So our initial project was Pasta for Humanity, and is sought to provide food for the homeless and the needy. However, this project failed because we failed to acknowledge the implications, such as failing to receive funding and a sponsor. So this poor planning resulted in us being forced to completely reroute our project, and we decided to restore the Polara. So my interest for vehicles throughout this project has only grown. I was always into cars, and then just being hands-on, just being intimate with the car, it's something else. The project has since influenced me and my friends to start a James Allen Car Club, aiming to educate our local students of James Island and offer educational hands-on mechanical work and experiences. So our additional videos serve as sources for knowledge for anybody, aiming to conquer a project, a similar project, or working on an old car. So regarding the Polara, so we have dramatically improved the condition, and although it's not actually functional at the moment, our key goal was to educate the public, which I would say we have accomplished. Our time management, organization, scheduling, leadership, and mechanical skills have all greatly improved as well. Anyhow, I appreciate you all following us on this journey as we conquered this incredibly difficult project and learned much about who we are as individuals and who we are as a team. Thank you.